All right, so Google's AI mode is here, and let me tell you, it's the biggest shift we've seen in search in, well, in years. This isn't just another update, folks. It's a whole new ballgame. So today, we're going to break down the brand new playbook you need to succeed. Let's just dive right in.
And look, the very first thing we have to get our heads around is a complete change in mindset. This quote, it just nails it. The old rules of just clawing your way up the rankings, they're over. This new era, it's all about one thing: building and signaling trust. So, to really grasp why trust has suddenly become so critical, we've got to take a step back and look at what this new search experience actually is, and more importantly, why it matters so much to you.
So what is Google AI mode? Well, in simple terms, think of it just like ChatGPT or Perplexity. It's this dedicated space where you can ask really complex, messy questions and get an immediate, synthesized answer. It's way more focused, you know? Less cluttered than that traditional page of blue links we're all used to.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the trend this chart is showing. I mean, yeah, it's still early days, but the initial data is clear. People are getting on board with this. They're already being trained to use these conversational search tools, and that means, and this is the key part, it's going to have a real, tangible impact on your website's traffic. No question about it.
Okay, so before we jump into the nitty-gritty tactics, it is absolutely essential to understand the fundamental shift in user behavior that this new technology is all about. This isn't just about how the machine works, it's about how we, as people, react to it. So a recent user behavior study found something absolutely fascinating about this new era. It's this idea of trust before relevance. In a world just flooded with infinite information, a lot of it AI-generated, by the way, users are now asking themselves a question first. Before anything else, they're thinking, do I know this brand? Is this source credible? Then, and only then, do they even think about how well it answers their question. Trust has literally become the first filter.
And look, the crucial point here is that optimizing for trust isn't some fluffy, vague concept. No way. It has direct, measurable benefits. When people trust you, they search for your brand by name. That creates these powerful, positive signals that AI models absolutely pick up on. It builds a brand asset that's defensible, something that can't be easily copied. Honestly, this is your single biggest opportunity to win in Google's new AI mode.
So, this brings us to what I'm calling the Trust-First SEO framework, and it all starts with pillar number 1, the where. It's time to completely redefine your playing field.
You know, that old model of just pouring all your SEO efforts into your own website, it's officially dead. Your brand's authority is now being judged and determined across a whole bunch of platforms, all over the internet. If you're only relying on your own site, you're leaving a massive opportunity on the table.
And this chart, it just illustrates the risk perfectly. If your brand's traffic sources look anything like this, with over half of it coming just from search, you are incredibly vulnerable. The new goal is to build what you could call a 360-degree trust ecosystem. You've got to signal that your brand has real-world authority, way beyond just a well-optimized website. So the obvious question is, where should you be? Well, the data is pretty darn clear. YouTube has now overtaken Reddit as the #1 search destination. Think about that. And both YouTube and LinkedIn, they are consistently among the top platforms cited in those AI-generated answers. These social platforms, they're not separate from your SEO strategy anymore. They are a crucial part of it. Okay, let's move on to pillar 2 and see how this all connects. Now that we know where we need to show up, we've got to talk about what kind of content we need to be creating to build that all-important trust. This slide just shows the evolution of search so perfectly. We are moving away from these simple, choppy keywords to long, conversational, and super contextual questions. Users are literally telling the AI their entire situation, their constraints, their goals, everything, all in one go. So, to handle these complex requests, Google's AI uses this really cool technique called query fan-out. What does that mean? Well, it basically takes that big conversational query and shatters it into a series of smaller, related sub-questions. It does all this to gather a complete and nuanced set of information before it even thinks about generating the final answer. But how in the world can you figure out what those hidden subqueries are? Okay, here's a really powerful and actionable method you can use right now. You can use Google's Notebook LM to essentially reverse engineer this whole process. You feed it the top-ranking content on a topic, and then you just ask the AI, hey, what subqueries would you explore based on this? It gives you a goldmine of highly relevant content ideas. And this all leads to a crucial point. You have to focus your efforts where they'll have the most impact. That means creating high-quality, mid-funnel content.
We're talking detailed comparisons, those best-of lists, in-depth case studies. This is the stuff that directly influences buying decisions, and it's highly valued by both real users and the AI models during that critical research phase.
All right, we've covered the where and the what. Now, let's get to our final pillar, the how. How do we optimize for AI perception and make sure these models see and understand our brand's authority the right way?
It all starts with understanding Google's knowledge graph. The absolute simplest way to think of it is like a giant digital map of the world. It doesn't just see words on a page. It connects entities, that's people, places, brands, ideas, and it understands the relationships between them. Your job is to make sure your brand is a clear, accurate, and authoritative landmark on that map.
So how do you build your presence on this map? Well, there are two main ways. First up is schema markup. This is basically structured data you add to your website that explicitly tells the AI what your content is about. And second, you've got to consistently use what are called named entities. These are the key phrases and terms that give AI context about your brand across all the content you produce on every single platform. And why is getting this right so incredibly important? Well, because according to that same user research, most people only skim the top 3 citations in an AI results panel. Just 3. Being in that top tier isn't just valuable real estate, it's everything.
So the challenge, of course, is how do you earn one of those high-value spots? It takes a strategic approach for sure. You've got to reverse engineer those high-intent, brand-driven queries to see which media publishers are consistently getting cited. Then you connect with their editorial teams directly. But listen, a generic pitch asking for a backlink is going straight to the trash. You must lead with value. Offer them some original research, a unique survey, or even free products that will genuinely make their content better.
And this all comes back to the central philosophy of this new playbook, which this quote just sums up perfectly. The answer isn't to just churn out more and more AI-generated content. The answer is to be more thoughtful, more strategic, more original, and way more focused on building genuine authority.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with one final thought. It's the one question every single brand needs to be asking itself right now. In this new age of AI, are you building a brand that's a trusted source, or are you at risk of just becoming another result?